Hi guys, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what I posted on Instagram this morning. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, what's wrong with you? Get over there, and my username is @TalisYoga. I post pretty regularly. But for those of you who do follow me on Instagram, well done. I post a little bit about self-care, a little bit about deepening and filling your well. So I find that self-care is a pretty overused topic of conversation these days, a pretty overused phrase. I mean, we can feel like, having a bad day, I'm going to call in sick to work so I can spend all day in bed. Self-care. And absolutely it can be. But self-care isn't all about kind of being lazy. And that's what I want to talk to you guys a little bit more about. I also really think that a lot of people use things like bubble baths or go shopping or phoning a friend or painting your nails, things like that. They call that self-care. And they attribute that to all self-care is. And absolutely, they are all forms of self-care. But a lot of the things that I just mentioned are really all quite superficial. They're about your appearance, aesthetics. Doesn't really get to the heart of what self-care really is. And self-care isn't always easy. It's not always about treating yourself. It's often about challenging yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, and really starting to explore the things that will help you grow to your ultimate potential, while also supporting yourself in the best way you know how. Hence the deepening your well and the filling your well. But again, we'll get to those two terms a little bit more in a few moments. I just wanted to say before we start to talk about that, self-care can be about appearance, it can be superficial. But again, it can also be so much more than that. Self-care can mean listening to your body, you listening to your mind, to your intuition, your wisdom, your innate wisdom, and really starting to listen and respect, and most importantly, take action on what that is trying to tell you. So, deepening your well, filling your well, two terms I've thrown around quite a lot already. Filling your well it involves practices that are quite supportive, restorative, things that make you feel so much more rested and just generally more restored. So they're good for your energy levels. If you feel a bit tired, if you've got fatigue, if you've got a little bit of burnout, you need to be focusing on this filling your well. And these practices that fill your well, they are again a supportive, restorative practices. It can be having that bubble bath, it can be sleeping or taking a nap, taking rest, and also be reading a good book. It could be just general, really relaxing practices that perhaps we don't make the most time to do. I don't know about you, but running my own business, trying to run a lot in between clients, I teach a pretty full schedule and coach a lot of clients as well. So my schedule gets pretty hectic. And I always find, not just with me, but in the clients I work with, and my friends and my family, when we start to get busy, the first things that start to go are your self-care rituals. First things to go when we get a little bit stressed, self-care rituals. When shit hits the fan, when we start to really get a little bit more stressed, a little bit more overburdened, again, self-care goes out the window. And in fact, as we all know, these are the times where we really need to start to take care of ourselves, to start to fill our well, to start to really just take these restorative, supportive, relaxing and resting practices that will fill us up, nourish us, and just make us feel so much better in ourselves, more grounded even. So that's filling your well. Deepening your well is where the challenge comes in, where we step out of our comfort zones a little bit, where we look externally for support sometimes as well. So deepening your well can be practices like a more powerful yoga practice, if that's If you do yoga, but you normally tend towards the kind of yin, the hatha, the restorative, maybe going to a powerful vinyasa class is going to scare the hell out of you. Maybe you should do it anyway. So outside of yoga, of course, deepening your wow could mean taking a new course, learning something new, investing in some new program, going back to school, studying. You see what I mean? How it really helps us to get deeper into our knowledge base. It encourages us to expand what we know, expand who we are, and really start to grow more as individuals. So perhaps it could be finding a mentor, again, taking that course in something that you have no knowledge about yet. Maybe you want to learn Spanish, but you never learned a language before. Go do it. That's deepening your wow. Maybe you want to try meditation, but the thought of staying still for that long really terrifies you. Don't worry, because there's loads of different kinds of meditation out there that aren't scary. In fact, none of them are scary, but you can move and meditate. You can meditate for walks, things like that. Anyway, meditation could definitely be a form of deepening your wow in this context as well. Maybe you want to get therapy, for example. That could be a great way of supporting yourself in a challenging and new environment that again will help you grow to your full potential. So these two concepts work really well hand in hand. But I do find that sometimes we're focusing more on filling our well, and sometimes we're focusing more on deepening our well. That is completely fine. I remember a long time ago, maybe 3-4 years ago now, I was really stressed out. I was burning out, in fact. Yes, I was doing my yoga teacher training at the time, and there was a lot going on in my personal life. My partner was really ill. My dad had just had a stroke. I was involved in a criminal investigation for being the victim in a horrible situation. So the police were involved. I was working full time. I'm not trying to have a pity party here, but I'm just saying there was so much going on in my life, and I started to burn out. I remember at one point I even fell asleep in a yoga pose, in a yoga class, as part of my teacher training. That's how absolutely fatigued and at the edge of my limit and how little energy I had, because I was running around, again, working full time, studying, teaching, training, observing, my own practice, my own job, all this stuff going on in my personal life. No wonder I burned out. So ultimately, I started to focus more on really filling my well. I stopped doing Ashtanga yoga, for example. I started doing more restorative yoga. I started to focus on breathing and on gentle somatic meditation. I started to read more, relax more, take naps if I was tired, which I was most of the time at that point in my life. I ate really good nourishing foods that I wanted, that I knew was going to support me and my energy levels. I started to see acupuncturists, which really again helped to support me. See how all these practices aren't particularly outside my comfort zone, but are still really helpful in just supporting myself, getting my energy levels back up to where they were, and just taking good care of myself, which I hadn't been for a while before that. So after that, when I was feeling more rested, I started to focus on deepening my well. And this involves signing up for new courses, taking new trainings. I studied a lot with a few different people. Started studying anatomy, which really scared the crap out of me at first, because it just went over my head. Now I'm an anatomy nut job, so I also started stepping out of my comfort zone. I started saying yes to opportunities and events that I would normally just be terrified of. I said yes to them anyway. I did them. I challenged myself, stepped out of that comfort zone, and I feel so glad that I did that, because they really paved the way to new contacts, new opportunities, things that I would never have had the opportunity to be able to do had I not said yes to some of these initial scary things. I really am living my life to the fullest. I say yes to new opportunities. I take new classes, new courses and things that I haven't done before. You see what I mean? How when we need to rest, maybe we need to focus more on feeling well. But when we feel rested and when our life feels stagnant, we need to start to push our limits a little bit, step out of that damn comfort zone, and yes, start deepening your well at the same time. That's not to say that we shouldn't be deepening and feeling our well at the same time to some capacity all the time. We absolutely should, but sometimes one will take the focus and then the other. It's just the natural ebbs and flows of life. So I also want to talk a little about comfort zones because it's something I work on so much with loads of my coaching clients. A comfort zone doesn't necessarily even have to be comfortable. We can feel pretty uncomfortable in our comfort zones, in fact. For example, maybe you feel bad about your levels of activity. You feel like your body needs to move. Maybe your joints are hurting. Maybe you don't feel so strong. But the thought of doing anything is new absolutely terrifies you. Maybe the thought of going to a class is totally just overwhelming. But this is where we need to step out of our comfort zone a little bit. Hey, if you really feel totally fully anxious about going to a new class, maybe just sign up for, just do a YouTube video on yoga or Pilates or just some kind of movement that'll help you start moving a little bit more. Feel better in your body as a result. Maybe you feel totally stuck in your current job and you feel like you're stagnating, you have no love for it, and you dread the thought of getting up every morning to go to work. I know maybe it sounds scary, maybe it sounds overwhelming, but maybe consider changing your job, your direction, your career, your role to something a little bit more fresh, a little bit more exciting. Maybe a comfort zone is things like comfort eating when you feel overly too much emotion. So many of us eat to numb our emotions. Hey, I used to do it all the time. But when we start to recognize our emotions and say, actually, food isn't going to be the best thing to help me in this situation. Maybe it'll be something else. Maybe it'll be some other form of self-care that doesn't actually involve food. Maybe it involves food and normally we don't let ourselves eat it because our comfort zone is to restrict and deprive ourselves of anything that makes us feel good. So have that Mars bar if that's what you really need. Comfort zones can also look like smoking or any kind of habit that we know doesn't serve us. We know we particularly don't even want to do it anymore sometimes, but it feels stuck in this rut where we can't actually escape and shift out. Or this is your wake-up call. I invite you to start to make some small steps towards stepping out of your comfort zone. So let's say the comfort eating, for example, maybe you eat to make you numb out your emotions, to make yourself feel better after a hard day, just to treat yourself even. But if you know that you are binge eating and you're not feeling good about it, then maybe you can start again to find those self-care mechanisms that don't involve food. Or perhaps, and leaving our comfort zone can feel so scary. I can't state this enough. Even if we feel totally uncomfortable in this comfort zone, making that move to leave it can feel totally scary. But I invite you to take baby steps to start to shift away from it, to move somewhere new. And maybe this somewhere new will feel totally unfamiliar and pretty uncomfortable at first. And a lot of my clients say to me, I don't want to feel like I'm not comfortable in any situation anymore. I like my comfort zone. I might not feel like I'm living my full life, my dream life, but at least I'm in the familiar. I'm going to challenge you now. I'm going to challenge that very belief and say that when you start to make these small changes, the small changes that you make will eventually become comfortable and familiar. You'll be at like comfort zone number 2, which is more healthy and more sustainable and getting your way towards that dream life of yours. And you'll feel a lot more comfortable and a lot happier than you did in your previous comfort zone. I even like to think of comfort zones like stepping stones almost, where we go from one comfort zone to the next, to the next, to the next, making these baby changes, these baby tiny little steps that will eventually getting us lead our way to a full, wonderful, vibrant and exciting life that we all really deserve, but are sometimes too scared to even start making our way towards it. So these baby steps, maybe it's signing up for that course, maybe it's considering changing your job, your workplace, your role, your whole career. Maybe it's moving away from that relationship with a partner or friends that you feel just don't serve you anymore. Could be anything, but know that when you start to shift out of this comfort zone, there will be another, better, even more comfortable comfort zone waiting for you, where it'll be a lot more aligned with where you want to be and who you want to be. So if you're interested in more of what I have to offer, you can check out my website. It's talisyoga.com. I offer coaching worldwide these days, so if anybody's interested in signing up, I would love to hear from you. Find me an email, get in touch on social media. Again, it's Talis Yoga, can't forget that. And let me know. If you've got any questions, as always, please let me know in the comments. And maybe if you really love this video, consider hitting subscribe. That's all for now, guys. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.